Hey, what's going on, guys? We're back with another Moderoid Titanomachia model kit release here. This is the Vogel'g, or the Vogel'g, there as it is in Japanese. If you missed the last video, we did take a look at the Edelstein 2, the first mecha model kit out in the Titanomachia series here from Good Smile Company's Moderoid lineup. Today we're going to be checking out the Vogel'g, and it looks pretty awesome. So really looking forward to checking out this one. Let's go ahead and get right into it. All right, so once again with this one, we can see some awesome box art here on the front. Love it. This is once again going to be in 1/48 scale, as we can see there in very big font right there on the front. But the box art here for these releases has just been super cool. And like I said, if you're more a fan of like the grunt type of looking designs, this is certainly one that should fit the bill for you. It looks awesome. So on the sides of the box, we once again just have the line art. And on the ends of the box, you have the same artwork here, vertical on one side, on the other side, just a horizontally cropped look there at the box art. And then on the back side, a couple images here of the kit in full there, front and back. As you can see, that gun can either be kind of mounted on the back side of the forearm or up as like a cannon up over the shoulder. So that's pretty cool. And we have some more images here of the pilot figures and weapons, gimmicks, and kind of the parts compatibility there as well, which looks pretty cool. So there's a little bit more about that. And another thing to point out to you guys, obviously you can see that this is a thinner box than what we saw with the Edelstein kit, so going to be not quite as much contents wise inside here. And also going to be curious to see about if how much of those runners are recycled from the Edelstein kit too. But once again with this one, we have two kind of instruction manuals, but this one, if it's like with the previous kit, this one is going to be kind of just our backstory guide here. And yeah, that's true. So on the front, we have the box art. On the back side, here we have some variants, and these look like kind of mostly color variants here for these three at the top, which look awesome. So really cool there. And then down here, a variant that's much more different, and it's using all these different parts on there for it as well. We got some text about these and the cool Alpha Killer there logo. So you got some really cool stuff there, some nice inspiration for some custom projects with these. That looks really nice. And then on the inside here, we have the illustration there of the Vogel'g and some text about that. Another kind of variation down there at the bottom, and some more kind of artwork there. On the other side over here, this is another kind of chapter of the like mini novelization of the story here, I guess. And everything's there in Japanese, unfortunately, but whip out your translator app on your phone and you can translate that if you're interested in reading a little bit more kind of about the backstory. Over here for the instruction manual, on the back side here, looks like we're just kind of like right into the construction. So we should have our parts list in here as well. We do have some more photos and text. This is going to be our color guide right here on this page, and basically some more images like we saw on the outside of the box, just much larger images here in this case. And then yeah, all of our construction is going to be in nice full color Moderoid style. I would love to see that. That just makes it so much easier to put the kit together. Well, not like that drastically that much easier, but definitely makes the construction process a little bit more streamlined when everything's in color for you. Makes it easier. And then it looks like with this one, once again, we don't have any water slide decals, unfortunately, but we do have some included stickers here for like the camera bits. And so once again, here is our 1/48 scale pilot figure. Now with the Edelstein, this was ZA. In this case, it's ZB, and it looks like, I think this is the one part that's different. The part for the pilot torso, I think, was over here in that case. Now it's up here. So otherwise, looks like it's mostly the same. The standing pilot figure looks to be possibly the same. Actually, maybe it's a little different. Looking at that, I think it is maybe slightly different. We'll have to take a look in the review portion of the video. But then once again, we have these little connection bits right here as well. And as for the runners, we are going to have a number of these runners repeated from the Edelstein. So here, for example, runners A, B, and C there in dark green. The runners E and F here for some joint parts there in a medium gray color. Runner G is once again our sort of polycap runner, where it's somewhat softer than the rest of the plastic, but not like kind of your standard polycap material. And again, some smaller runners here. Runner H for a couple pieces there in molded gold. Runner I for a couple pieces here in white. Runner J for a couple pieces there in yellow, and runner K for a couple pieces here in dark gray. Then we got runners L and M here in dark gray and dark green. Runner N is a couple pieces there in dark gray as well, and runner O is a few more parts here in yellow. And now we're getting into some of the new parts for this kit. They don't have like a separate runner label like we saw with the Edelstein, where it was EA, EB, EC, etc. like that. We'll get to those in just a moment, but these are just kind of continuing on the alphabet a little bit. Here we have runner P and runner Q, which is going to be all of our hand parts there, the hand backing parts, and all the hand parts there. Runner R here is just some more parts in gray, and then runners S, T, U, and V are going to be some more parts here in dark green. Now again, these are new parts, but we don't have a divergence from the kind of alphabet lettering quite yet. So here's runner U and V there as well. Here we've got runner W, which does also happen to be the weapon. I have to wonder if that was intentional to put that on runner W there, or just a happy coincidence. Runner X and runner Y for a couple more parts there in yellow and white. And here's where we have the split, is we have two runners here, VA and VB, that are different from the rest of the alphabet. So these ones are the runners that I'm going to assume are just specific for this particular version, and then we may see another version of the Vogel'g maybe at some point using all the rest of those runners, and then maybe it would be from runner VC and VD, etc. we might see on some of those other runners. But here's a few more parts there in green and white, and that's it for the runners. Let's go ahead and check out the kit. Alright guys, and here is the kit all built up. Surprisingly small. It's really, really interesting just kind of after building the Edelstein and then building this kit, just like how small this kit is, especially considering the fact that this kit actually shares a lot of the core parts of the Edelstein, like the torso, the waist section, the thighs, or like the thigh connections anyway. A lot of that stuff is actually shared between the two kits, so you wouldn't think that it's such a small kit comparatively, and I'll show them to you side by side here in just a bit. But it's really interesting just how like the legs in particular and the rest of the equipment of the Edelstein just make it look so much larger in comparison to this one. But still, for just a small, really cool sort of utilitarian grunt type looking mecha, I think this one looks really, really nice. And once again, with this one, we see got a lot of really cool details on there and just a really cool looking design. So go ahead and get into it here, starting off with the accessories, and then we'll take a closer look at the comparison. And much of our accessories are going to be the same as what we saw with the Edelstein. So for our hand options, we've got a set of closed fists there. We've also got our set of open hands like so, and then two different types of holding hands for the left and the right side. One set is just closed like so. The other set does have the trigger finger extended like that. And then we've got our connection bits, which you can use for customization. Our 1/48 scale standing pilot figure here, which is in a light gray. Some nice detail on there. And once again, the seated pilot figure is here in the cockpit, which is actually in the backpack. This door opens up and they're seated in there like that. There's some pretty good detail inside. Obviously, it's not going to be super easy to see, but he's got like a chair, and then there's details around on the inside of the backpack cockpit there. And then for our weapon for this kit, we've got this Gatling gun here, which can be attached either onto the backpack or onto the side of the arm. It can't be handheld. We don't have a handle for it. I guess you could like get a handled part or some sort of accessory piece or just scratch build a handle for this. But using this connection peg here, which can be rotated to either the left or the right side, this can be plugged onto the backpack, and that can be plugged onto either side. I guess with the drum being on that side, it kind of works a little bit better, I think, on the other side of the backpack. Something like that anyway. So that's just going to be able to rotate at that hard point and be able to fire over the shoulder. But if you take off that connection piece here, it's just a peg on the underside, and then we can use that to just peg this into the backside of the forearm right there. And then it can be used like so, like that. So pretty cool weapon there. Nice details on that. And like with the rest of the kit, it's made in a way where we don't really have any seam lines on there. So it should be fairly easy to paint. Anywhere where, like, for example, on this part right here, where it would be a seam line, we just have a molded panel line detail right through that. That's it for the accessories, but once again, for the stickers, it's the same sticker sheet that we saw with the Edelstein kit, but we're going to be using some of the different stickers on here and still not using all, and still you have a lot of leftover, like negative sticker space there that you can use to cut little bits for additional stickers if you want to. But essentially all we've got on there is these ones here on the top of the torso, the one on the top of the head, and the one for the visor there like that. And like I said, like what we saw with the Edelstein, we've got basically no seam lines on the kit, which is really cool, so that's going to make it really easy to paint. The articulation is going to be a little bit different with us, for example, like here in the forearm, only having a single joint. That's not going to give us like too much of a full bend there. But other aspects like the shoulders, being able to move a little bit forward and back there, and having a pretty decent amount of movement that you're able to do here in the midsection as well, forward and back. These front skirt sections are able to move up and down this back, not exactly skirt, but this part right here. And the legs are super interesting just because of how short and stocky these are. And the middle part of the leg, like this is all the part of the thigh, going from this circle part up here at the top to this circle part right here. That's actually kind of the knee joint all the way down there, which which is pretty interesting. And it is a double joint there at the knee. So bending the leg like that, it's just like the lower part of the leg is just this little part right here, but it has this long part extending up at the top. And then the feet are also just long and skinny there. As you can see, we got hard points on the bottom sides of the feet. Those are going to have a little bit of forward movement here like that, and like a little bit of side to side as they're just attached via ball joints, but not really too much movement for those. So just to pop this off for you guys so you can see, like, that's how huge the thighs are, which are quite big and actually very similar in size to like what we saw with the Edelstein. And so that's what we're gonna do here next. Let me show these kits to you side by side. So here's that, and right off the bat you can see that it's going to be towering over. It basically looks like you're comparing like an HG and an MG, but the interesting thing is that these do share a lot of parts. And if you look at especially the torso parts, the torsos are actually mostly the same. So it's kind of interesting. It's all built around the same core, but just the difference in just the size. The Edelstein has these really long arms, obviously these really long legs, and like I said, the thighs are also very similar in size, but just the proportions of everything else are just way different. So, but one thing that I'll show you guys is the connections are all made to be universal. So even though the proportions are different and the kits are different color, obviously that's not really going to match, you can mix and match the parts just super easy. It's very easy to just plug and play to switch the legs there at the knee. For example, you could switch the entire leg just from the top down, of course, but as you can see, it just popped off and then plugged on the new lower legs. And the same thing goes for everything else on these kits. So everything's really compatible, which is really cool. And just for those of you who might want to put an actual number to it, the head height for this guy coming in at between 12 and 13 centimeters there. So it's not a very big model kit. And that said, despite its small stature, still a really cool kit. I think it's just a really awesome design, and especially one that's great for those of you guys who do like the more kind of utilitarian grunt sort of looking designs like this. I think both of these kits are really awesome. Really enjoyed the build of both and really looking forward to checking out some more in the series. I know we do have, I think there's a couple more kits out in the line already at this point, maybe 1 or 2, and then I think we have 1 or 2 still on the way. So there's a lot more to enjoy with this series. I'm looking forward to it. They're basically going to be similar in the way that they're all just essentially variations on like a similar core design on the model kit. So it's nice that there's like some familiarity and also that compatibility. That's what's really cool about these. So you might want to build these and just keep them as they are, and they're really cool designs just as they are, but that customizability is certainly going to make it pretty tempting to want to like swap some parts around and kind of make your own creation. Obviously the colors straight out of the box are not going to match, and you may be able to make it work just fine like that, but again, as I mentioned in the review for the Edelstein, you can really tell that these are designed kind of with the modeler in mind, just in terms of the fact that these don't have seam lines, so they're made to be very easy in terms of like your prep work. You don't really have to do a lot of seam line removal and everything before you can get just straight into the painting on these. Just a little bit of like sanding cleanup, and you could paint these up pretty simply, pretty easily. And then just the ability to kit bash so easily. So it's sort of similar a bit to like 30 minutes missions in a way, especially like what we saw with the rifle of the Edelstein as well, with that being able to be like modified into a bunch of different versions just by swapping around parts and things on that. And then obviously that would be compatible with this kit as well, of course. Any of the weapons and accessories also going to be compatible because they're sharing the same hand parts and sharing the same connection peg systems and all that. So I obviously don't expect this series of kits to be quite as prolific as 30 minutes missions or anything like that, or even frame arms from Kotobukiya, which would be another like comparison I think you could probably make. But if we get anywhere between a half a dozen and a dozen kits in this series, that'd be pretty awesome just for the possibilities of being able to mix and match. That said, with these being Moderoid releases, they're not going to be necessarily widely available unless they're reprinted later. So these are the kind of models too. It's not like Bandai's 30-minute missions kits are usually pretty easy to get at any time, but these ones are going to be a bit more limited. And so if you guys are interested and you have the chance to pick them up, I would recommend it because they're probably going to be harder to get later, unless there happens to be a time when they do get reissued, which we don't know if or when that might be coming. So anyway, that's my thoughts on the kit, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And as always, thanks so much for all of your support, leaving a like and making sure that you're subscribed. Check out these kits at the USA Gundam Store. The link is down in the video description below the video there, as always. And just thanks so much for all your support again, guys. Until next time, hope y'all are having a great day. See ya.